he did not take it well.
That happens.
Nice guy.
Here's be fun. Okay, I guess we should start the interview.
Hi.
Okay, Matthew Swinnerton here from Event Santa Cruz, and I'm here with DNA
And Akbosh.
Okay, and this dog, pretty much we're the same. I know usually you'd be able to see him, but we're pretty much the same weight.
Yeah. My boy.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the show, which we're talking about at the very end, and we're gonna talk about where you're going, and why you're leaving Santa Cruz. We're gonna leave that to the end.
Okay.
We're gonna leave it to the end. But I want to know first,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
you have. You have to stay to the end for that. Find out why. But he already told it. No, but that's true. But how did you get into this world of? Comedy is one thing, but you do more than that. You're putting on a show.
Yeah.
You're putting on a show, and this has been. So you started in Chico, right? And tell me about I don't know, that first show until how it actually became like a thing of what you do.
Let's go way back.
Okay.
I started putting on shows when I was 8 years old. So I'd be my family would have, Passover or a birthday or whatever it was. And I realized if I put on a show, they'll give me $1 or $3, And that's the same money I get now. It's the same money. It's not changed.
It's gone down a little.
It's gone down. And I invite everyone into the basement, and I put on a magic comedy ventriloquism show with my nephews, and did that for years. And then my sister's like, we got to take this on the road. So she got me doing magic shows for nursery schools and nursing homes when I was 9 or 10, and did that. And then I clammed up. I got diagnosed recently. I have extreme ADHD and APD, audio processing disorder. So I just clammed up, and I didn't open up until I moved to Chico after graduate school in '87. And Chico was such a receptive town. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to print a zine. And they're like, here's $15 for an ad. I was like, wow. So I started doing zines, and then I wrote.
Wait, a zine is like a newsletter kind of like a physical.
It's a print thing, like a newsletter. My first one in Chico was called the Dumpster Dive News, that had a map of all the dumpsters in Chico and what you can expect to find in them, and who the managers were, and all the problems. And then I put out one called Ball's Edge, and then Hump. And those were our issues. This is 88, 89. Our issues were, we were very involved in forestry issues and Earth First, midwifery. My wife at the time was a midwife, legalization of cannabis, vegan lifestyle. I mean, we were pretty on it of things that did trend out, you know. And then I started...
A little before your time with some of those things.
Yeah, way before, actually. I've been a vegetarian since 1977, so I've been in the woods. I've been in the broccoli forest. It's not great. And then I realized that with a press pass, even when I wrote press and I put it on my hat, I can get into any show and I can interview anyone. And so I started interviewing. I interviewed Desmond Tutu. I just walked in. I'm like, press. They're like, he's in there. I'm like, I sat down with Desmond for a little while. I interviewed Edgar Mitchell, 6 Man to Walk on the Moon, every reggae star, every Bay Area star, every Timothy Leary. I was his chauffeur for 3 days. Robert Anton Wilson, who died here in Santa Cruz, who was very influential. I mean, so Carlos Castaneda. I mean, everybody.
That's crazy.
And then I started putting on shows. And so in Chico in 1989, there were 150 bands or more just in that little rice town. And I know there were 150 bands because I put on a show where all 150 played in one day. And I just had the equipment on stage, and one band will come up, play a song, and then the next band will come up and play a song.
They would just plug in to
They just bring their guitars and their bass and they plug in and go. Wow. And it brought the community together, because the reggae band had never seen the metal band, and the metal band never saw the bluegrass band. And here they all sit in the bar Juanita's, hanging out all day long and all night long, drinking, and it was really, I love that.
Cool. Yeah.
And I think you do that.
No, that's awesome. That's why I do that.
Together.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I know why actually, but it's very. It would be a therapy kind of thing, and we're not going to go there. But
it's fun. I think you're a people person,
yeah,
and you like to see that community come together. I don't know, and to hear the stories and then see what comes out of that.
Yeah, a lot of babies.
A lot of babies.
Yeah, a lot of babies. A lot of people leaving for tour with Yonder Mountain String Band or whatever band I brought to town. Before they broke. I worked with them. I worked with. We did early Deftones. We did very early Jimmy Eat World. I think they were just out of high school or something.
So these are all music shows.
I did music. I did a concert series in the park for 14 years, 6 months out of the year. Each week had 3 to 5 bands. I'd pair out-of-town bands with local bands. I started my own award ceremonies because there was no celebrate. There was one, but it was very stuffy.
Okay.
So I started my own, and the town was founded by John and Annie Bidwell.
Okay.
Who had the same beard. And so my event was called the Johnnies.
Oh,
it was his face
good.
On a toilet. Because the toilet's a John.
Was he alive still?
No, they were 1800s.
Okay.
1800 people.
Okay. I love that.
It was nice because the arts, we celebrated people and their art, and people like that. People like to be noticed, people are like, I just feel like now it's like no one likes my post on Twitter. Go out and do something, try to, so I did that. And then I took an abandoned movie theater, United Artists, that used to be in turn of the century vaudeville house. And then they fourplexed it in the 70s to make 4 theaters. And it was disgusting. It was abandoned, and Kenny Loggins recorded his album there.
Oh my God.
And I, with a nickel in my pocket, opened it up with no permits. We tore out all the walls. We reopened the whole building up, and it was amazing. And I started digging into it, and it was a Timothy Pfluger building, and he was friends with Diego Rivera, and I was like, oh, there's probably elements of Rivera. I started mining the building. And then 9/11 happened. And then everything, 9/11, and that kind of put a real crimp on things as far as people attending shows and stuff. But we did 2 years of shows, and we did 150 shows or something. And I was like, what can I can't do anything more in this little town. I peaked with the Senator Theater and everything, and 2,000 shows, and it's time, or 3,000, it's time to go. And I knew it, and I met my wife on stage. I got involved in theater late in Chico in a little black box called the Blue Room, and I met her on stage.
Wait, really? What do you mean, you were like?
I'm putting out the newspaper. I had a pirate radio station. We're doing started a festival North by Northwest, but it was called Nowhere by Nowhere because we're in the middle of Chico.
Yeah.
And I did that. I did it all. Yeah. And then the theater was not doing well. I mean, I met this woman. I got involved in a black box theater as a BOD, and they're like, "You want to act?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm in my 30s. I've never acted, and the ADHD really doesn't help." But so I said yes, and then I became an actor, and so I met her in a play.
Okay.
On stage, and she had family there, but she had family here in Santa Cruz. And she's like, I'm going, after grad school, she's coming back to Santa Cruz. And I'm like, I want to come to Santa Cruz because I want to do comedy. I've always wanted to do comedy. I've been promoting all these bands for 20 years and DJs and artists and everything. I want to move to Santa Cruz. I want to just be me, DNA the comedian. And I moved here and started putting on shows. And now 20 years later, I put on thousands of shows.
Okay, so when you came here, you put on shows, but were you did you first just actually play as DNA the comedian?
No. Here's what happened.
Okay.
So, I mean, humble brag or whatever, but I was a big fish in a small pond in Chico.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I go down in the Bay Area, I'm going to be a star. Yeah. And we moved here, and I did comedy at a couple of places, and just sheer I was so energized that it was working, but then I had my first bad set. I mean, I bombed. My first bomb.
Which everybody has that.
Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah. I bombed, and it destroyed my ego. And I was like, oh, I have to start all over. I go, my cup is empty. I need to start at the very bottom. And then I started at the very bottom of comedy. And then I saw There was a place on Front Street next. It used to be Surfrider Cafe, and then the all-you-can-eat Chinese, and then that it was a Greek restaurant. It used to be called the E3 Playhouse.
Okay.
E3 Playhouse. You don't remember that?
No.
Before your time.
Yeah.
It was an E, like a little E.
Okay.
With 1, 2, 3. It was entertainment, education, eatery. E3. Also ASL for butthole. Okay. So that wasn't a good choice for a logo.
Not a good one.
And the owner Wes was amazing, and he didn't have the entertainment permit. That was a smoking gun. They eventually got shot down. So I was doing comedy, putting on a shows there for the first time, and meeting comedians. But then I heard at the Blue Lagoon, this woman Lindsay Blaz and Jimmy the Sound Guy were doing a show at the Blue Lagoon, and I walked into the Blue Lagoon. I fell in love. I was like, I'm home. You know, like in Avatar, they have the long hair and it meshes with the horses flying and they become one. Yeah. That was me at the Blue Lagoon. I was like, this is my home. And I immediately started helping Lindsay with the show, and she burned out after a couple of years, and I took it over, and now it's been 18 years of weekly at the Blue as one thing I've done in this town.
You've been there longer than 99% of the employees.
Yeah, there's some lifers. There are people that still work there that were there when I started.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, some.
Okay.
And the vibe hasn't changed though, and I love that place. And I love it because it's like when I moved to Santa Cruz, besides my wife who I was in love with, I was still courting her, wanting to do comedy, falling in love with how beautiful it is here. Akbash, where are you going? And keep Santa Cruz weird. That's what got me. I'm like, weird. I go, when I saw that bumper sticker, it was like a Craigslist employment ad. I'm like, you need weird? I go, I'm going to come.
I got you.
My name's DNA, first of all, so I'm going to fit right in. And it was weird back then, 20 years ago. The drum circle, I'd be outside the farmer's market, near the Planned Parenthood downtown, and I'm standing there, all the white guys with dreadlocks mostly, with a dust cloud, and Naya Bingy, they're really getting into it. Yeah. And I hear hello, and I'm like, oh my God, it's God. I'm like, are you there, God? It's me, DNA. And then I look up, and this girl's in a tree naked, and she's like, it's me, Margaret. I'm like, this is the greatest town I've ever been in. And
it's not like that anymore as much.
Well, they banned that drum circle within a couple of years. It was interfering with the shopping.
Yeah.
So, but I had a takeaway. Yeah. I love this town. I had a great time. This town gave up its jewels for me.
Or like some of your show highlights. What are some of the big ones? Yeah.
I mean, like
maybe not the show even itself, but like one project you worked on. Something. What are the big ones?
So for 18 years of the Blue Lagoon, I've had 100 comedians come up kind of through our system or whatever, and some of them, Emily Catalano from Scotts Valley, she's touring the world. Chad Opitz, his first time on stage, Blue Lagoon, he's destroying LA right now. He's in commercials and short films, and
you don't hear people from Scotts Valley coming breaking out. Yeah, that's amazing.
I think she's the biggest thing out of Scotts Valley since Netflix.
Yeah, that's
Emily Catalano. Yeah. She's so smart because she produced her own special on YouTube, not with anybody. So she owns it all. That's good. She owns who she is, and I think and she attributes her growth as a comedian to the Santa Cruz scene, because I there was no scene here. Yeah. And then I started that. We started Rosie's, I started the Santa Cruz Comedy Festival, all these things. I started a web series we have about comedians. So many different things, and that all it ended up making a scene. And we had a run. You asked me a question, a highlight. There was a 8-year period at the Blue Lagoon where line out the door. I mean, you couldn't even get into the room for 8 years straight, because our lineup was so crazy. We, at that time, were the #1 room in the entire Bay Area. Like, out of San Francisco, there were San Francisco comedians who would jump on the bus to get here on a Thursday night. Yeah. Now it's on Tuesdays. But, so that 10-year run was a highlight. The festival, I might have had the best time on the first one. I don't know. I'm not like
sometimes the first ones of everything though, they have like the newness, the excitement of it, the I don't know, something. Then the nostalgia. Maybe if it actually was there, it's like maybe it wasn't as good as number 3. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
very hard to judge your own work.
Yeah,
you know, totally. And so the festival's always been a highlight. I mean, but for me, like other things would be like I saw Jerry Garcia 500 times. Genetically, I guess I'm like a hippie. I don't know. I don't identify as a hippie, but I love the lore of the 1960s, and so to find out the first acid test was in SoCal, on Ken Babb's ranch, and then to like go downtown and see these hippies, old hippies with tie-dye stuff and a hammer. And I'm like, oh, this is like Neil Cassidy, from On the Road and the Merry Prankster and Cowboy Neil. I go, this is like his hammer. And she's like, it is his hammer. I'm like, what are you? She's like, I'm his daughter. And it was
my God,
a iconic character in my life since I'm a teenager. That now I'm friends with her daughter. A book that was so influential to me by David J. Brown called Mavericks of the Mind, a collection of interviews. I got to know David, and now they're re-releasing that book, and I'm on the back cover with a blurb.
Oh, really?
Like that's the magic of this town.
Yeah.
It it vibrates at a very high level, and I feel like towns are like any relationship. Some are forever, some are short, and for me it was 20 years, and it feels good to change is good. Yeah. Change is the only thing that's certain.
So let's talk about that. What's the change? Where are you going, and what are you going to do?
All right, I'll tell you the therapy thing.
Yeah.
So getting, as a grown man, cis white male, Orthodox Jew, vegan, how many labels do you want? Getting diagnosed with extreme. Dr. Lukey Hauser on Zoom, he's like, you have extreme AD. I'm like, I know.
Okay.
All right, thanks for giving me a name so I can,
got confirmation,
and get medication that really, really works for me. So, between the therapy and the diagnosis and the medication, I've been able to have kind of breakthroughs in therapy I've never had over the last 7 years. And what I realized was for the 40 years I promoted other people's things, it was because with my ADHD, I had low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was as important. I thought everyone around me was better than me, which in a way is kind of a good thing when you're trying to help other people, that I can like see someone's higher self, but I couldn't see mine. I only saw my lower self up until 14 months ago. And then I was like, well, why do I keep producing shows? I put on 5,000 shows, 80% of them free, just like you, because I love bringing people together, because I can control that, and I can keep everyone at arm's distance, and I don't have to let anybody get close. It's like kind of like a dictator gene. Like I can move things around, and that's very satisfying to someone who grew up being unable to communicate. So now I'm like, you know what? I love doing comedy. I need to put the time into writing my own material, and I got signed to a small label out of the Bay Area called Punchline Records, and we'll be recording my first album at the Kumbwa in March.
Oh, wow.
And I got signed, she hasn't announced it yet, but I got signed with Karen Babbitt.
Okay.
So me and Karen Babbitt are both going to record our album the same night in the middle of March at the Kumbwa. And so I'm going to put time into that, which takes time. I need to go out, I need to go to shows. And then I believe Portland, because Portland's still weird. You know what I mean? I mean, it is. It's just, I don't know what it is. I think people got priced out of Santa Cruz. The bohemian lifestyle, you couldn't really maintain. Another highlight for me, and they'll come to me because there's so many, but one is I worked for the Boardwalk for 10 years and lived in La Bahia.
Wait, what did you do at the Boardwalk?
I was in risk management, and so I covered up the accidents.
Okay.
Did you hear 3 years ago, 21 people died on the Giant Dipper?
No, I didn't.
That's how good I was.
You're good. You're good.
All right, that was a joke.
I know.
But the reality is even crazier and better, which is I was in charge of the 200 kids from around the world that come to Santa Cruz every year to work. I was their Lord and Savior.
You were a camp counselor, kind of.
I was a psychologist. DNA. Is this what is this rated?
I don't know, PG-13. Yeah.
Hey, DNA. I have lump on testicle. Please see. I'm like, Vlad, I don't really want to. He's like, and they have no body shame. And he pulls down his shorts. I'm like, bro, I go, that is your testicle.
Oh, no.
Oh, thank you, DNA. Thank you. You know what I mean? I dealt with, 200 kids and kids that were, the Ukrainian kids, the Bulgarian, Macedonian, Mongolia, Ecuador, China, Russia. I traveled the world every summer for 10 years and never left.
That is so cool.
That building. And it instilled in me a unshakable belief that we're all the same. All, Ukrainians. They're us. You don't call them Ukrainians. They're you and me. The kids are the kids.
Just a person that's working the Big Dipper. Yeah.
I mean, in their own country, they're pre-law, pre-med. They come here and we just degrade them and make them feel terrible, and and that's kind of the American thing. You don't have value. I thought they had value. No.
Time to go back.
No, that's kind of jaded.
Yeah,
no. But
wait, so you're doing that job while at night you're doing the shows?
That job was 24/7. I worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was insane. I was the roguest employee of the boardwalk. They didn't even want to know what was happening in La Bahia. And 3 a.m., a Bulgarian guy on the roof dancing in his underwear. Hey, Vlad, can you come? They were all named Vlad. Can you come down? But party just starting. You know what I mean? But I love them, all of them. Even the ones that got caught stealing and got fired, and the cultural differences.
That was cool. You got it. Yeah,
it was so amazing.
So many interesting people,
and they are us, and that's why I have hope, because all those young people, all young people are the same across the planet.
No, everybody just wants to be happy.
Yeah,
yeah. Everybody just wants to have a good life and be with their family and
have food
enjoy
and
themselves.
Shelter.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy.
Okay, so
you're all closed up. You okay? Did I say something?
No, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
No. So okay. I actually had a couple thoughts. For one, I mentioned before. It's a bummer for me when you have people that are such a big part of the scene of what I view Santa Cruz to leave. Or when I was little, whatever my little town in Los Angeles, Eagle Rock, we leave. It's like, okay, this is what I think of Santa Cruz, and now it's different. And I feel like now, as a 50-year-old, it keeps on happening more and more often. Even just the last week, I just keep hearing more people okay, they retired, they're going somewhere else. But what I like about your story is it's not just a retirement, it's a new exciting change.
Yes.
And that's what's cool about it. It's
cool.
You're gonna, I love the idea that you're actually, not just putting on shows yourself, but you're going to be DNA.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
I'll put on a couple of shows. I have some things lined up.
No matter what, you cannot. I feel like you.
I have to.
You will. That's who you are.
I just can't stop.
Even if I retire, I'll still do that. Yeah, that's just what we're going to do.
Organize your funeral.
Exactly. I thought about that. Yeah, how can I make it interesting? Yeah.
I went to a funeral recently where they played the worst music. And I knew it was Grandpa Stan. I knew he hated that music, and I was just like, "You gotta make, in your will, you gotta put. You gotta
put these out, yeah. No,
Spotify.
Depeche Mode's gonna be there. The Cure. I'm gonna be very emo. And, I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be the '80s all the way. Okay, so we're gonna send you off though.
Okay.
And it's gonna be December the 10th. It's gonna be at the Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, my last.
Who's gonna be there? What's that show?
So in the comedy world, in my tribe, ways that when you leave, especially, and we've done this in Santa Cruz for the last 18 years, when somebody left, we'd roast them. It's a form of affection. It's to show your love. You publicly eviscerate the person until you just, every fault, idiosyncrasy, you pick them apart. It's like Festivus. It's airing a lot of grievances. And so people who have graduated through the Blue Lagoon system, they're coming back, or some are still here, and some of them I know have deep resentment against me. And and the guy put it in the new guy, the new blood, the new sentinel, the new Jack Torrance, who wanders the hall of the Blue Lagoon. The new guy, Paulie. Paulie's like, you want these? I'm like, yes. I want to make it as awkward for everyone as possible. And they humiliate me, for about an hour, and then I have my half hour or however long I want.
Retribution back to them? Or no?
I do roast them, but I mean, to tell you the truth, I feel, very I love these people and everything, and all the faults and all the warts and everything we've been through together. And you know, sometimes you just got to push the resentments aside, because it's like, it's about community, and in your community you don't want a echo chamber. You want different voices, you know.
Yeah.
And so it'll be my last show at the Blue after 900 shows, and I will do some comedy, and then I've done this thing again. I was saying earlier about one cool thing about when you do have award ceremonies is people who don't know you and what you do, they learn about you. Yeah. And one thing for me, I've done every week for 18 years, is the worst game show in Santa Cruz. And the worst game show in Santa Cruz, every week I give away stuff my wife doesn't want in the house anymore. And so at the Blue Lagoon, I've done appliances and vacuum cleaners and all kinds of crap. And now that we're moving, I have so much stuff.
You have way more.
Yeah, so it's going to be the best or the worst, the best of the worst game show. So I'm doing that. I'm doing some of my old bits that I've done over the years. The band is going to be there.
Oh, cool.
They're amazing. The new Blue Lagoonies house band. Lee, the bass player, has been with us 8 years. The other guys, not as long, but it's a 3-piece. They're really great. And I always say, come for the music, stay for the comedy. And we're still underground. The Blue Lagoon, 18 years. You know, people don't even know.
Do people just so on the 10th, do they just go? Do they have to buy tickets beforehand?
No, it's free.
It's free. Just go. So just go.
It's free.
Yeah.
Well, although on the poster I do have my Venmo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if you know,
let's give gas money. Yeah, gas money to Portland.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will have the link. Yeah. So to everything, whatever information. Okay. What time is it?
7:45. The music starts. Comedy will be 8:15, 8:30. But if you get there late, you will not be able to get anywhere near close to the stage. Okay. It's going to be packed.
Okay.
So you know why? Because people want to see me bleed. They're not going for comedy. They're like, people are going to roast DNA. Let's see.
Okay, I'll make a commitment, because I really don't go to too many events. People think I do. I just do my events and go home.
I know that feeling.
And so, but I am going to this one because this is special. DNA, it's been great to know you.
Yeah, you too, Matt. I love you.
Yeah,
and,
you too.
I'll never forget carrying you on stage at the Rio.
Oh, you did that too. Yeah, you did that. I forgot
that was your
about
idea.
That. Yeah,
that was your idea.
That's true.
And Santa Cruz, no shade. You're the best. I love this town's amazing, and I hope to see you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.